So, I'm sure that you've seen a ton of different adverts and videos and lessons and books all offering advice on that one thing that every bass player seems to be striving for, unlocking that fretboard. So, what the hell does unlocking the fretboard actually mean? Well, I'm guessing that for most of you, it means the ability to play freely around the instrument. But that's still a little vague. I mean, play what around the instrument? Do you mean scales? Do you mean arpeggios, bass riffs, bass fills, bebop jazz solos to a tough progression like giant steps? All of these things have a whole plethora of different hurdles to overcome depending on your level and general musicianship. So when it comes to this unlocking thing, what's this secret that everyone's talking about? Well, the one thing that I suspect most of you are looking to achieve when it comes to the fretboard is the ability to move outside of the box. So many bass players become trapped in those little one-octave fretboard patterns that you might have seen in a book or, been shown by an idiot like me. You'll learn something like a blues scale in one octave and all of a sudden you're like, woohoo, look at me. This can happen for loads of different musical stuff. Major scale, you learn it in one octave. Minor scale, one octave. Major arpeggio, minor arpeggio. Now, don't get me wrong, learning those things in one octave is fine and it's a start. And let's face it, a lot of bass lines are going to revolve around a single octave anyway. Once you know a major arpeggio, you're up and running with bass lines like this. But all of those fretboard patterns are vertical. They work across the fretboard. But what a lot of bass players aspire to is horizontal movement, the ability to fluidly move up and down the fretboard. This is where everything gets a little tricky because you can't just use a simple box pattern in one position. With those one octave patterns, you can see it all laid out under your fingers. You can pretty much learn them as fingering patterns. But to move up and down the fretboard requires a different approach. And the secret to that horizontal movement is actually way more obvious than you might think. So the secret to playing horizontally is this: learn horizontally. Now, I know that sounds stupidly obvious and doesn't really help you at all, but we are going to get more specific. In fact, we're going to get way more specific in learning horizontal lines. Now, when I say learn horizontally, I mean learn lines that move through positions. When you learn a major scale, learn it in a horizontal fashion. Learn it in multiple octaves up and down the fretboard. Learn arpeggios up and down the fretboard. Learn fills and solos that move up and down the fretboard. Practicing longer lines in multiple octaves is going to open things up because you'll be moving through positions. Your technique's going to develop so that position shifting becomes second nature, and when you focus on specific exercises that move in this way, you'll start to develop a map of the fretboard without even realizing it. And the key to all of this is the awareness of positions. So let's look at a really obvious example, a G major scale. Now in one octave, we have. Now, first things first, do you know the notes of that scale? And if not, why not? It's just 7 notes and they're in alphabetical order. You just have to remember that there's an F sharp in there. So G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp. Now I know what you're thinking. Oh no, Mark, don't start harping on about notes again. I just wanted a pattern. Note names and letters give me a migraine. Well, don't worry, we're going to be shifting through multiple patterns here in a sec, but there's no escaping the fact that if you want to play around the fretboard, notes are going to come into play at some point. So I would strongly advise that you learn the scale notes as well as the pattern. Next, let's have a look at how we can move that scale around the fretboard in various positions. So we've got that G major down here. So that's starting at the 3rd fret. We've also got the G up here at the 10th fret of the A string. We can play that same shape up there, and then we can play it up here at the 15th fret of the E string. So remember how I just mentioned positions? Well, these are all going to be positions. If you can play a scale here, here, and here, you're just going to need to learn how to connect them. So, as an example, we're just going to play through a simple exercise that sounds like this. So this is just a 2-octave major scale finishing up with a G major 7 arpeggio, but we're working progressively up and down the neck. Now don't worry too much about the analytics of this, just learn the line. It's too easy to start asking questions about the individual positions and the application. Ignore all that to begin with, just learn the line and play it over and over until you get it. So in terms of the notes, we're standing at the G 3rd fret of the E string and we're playing G and A. Okay, so I'm starting on the 2nd finger here of the fretting hand and then using the 4th finger. So that's our start, and then we work up B, C, D, 2nd, 3rd and 5th frets there, 1st, 2nd and 4th fingers. So that's the first 5 notes of that G major scale that we played down here. Next, we're going to shift position with the 4th finger, with that pinky. So we're going to just move that up to the 7th fret, the E. Okay, so this is the 7th fret of the A string. So that's the first position shift there. Then we continue F sharp, G, and A. So that's going to be 4th, 5th, and 7th frets on the D string with the 1st, 2nd, and 4th fingers. So that's our new position. And if you look at that position, what's actually happened here is that we're now playing what we had down here, G, A, B, up here, G, A, B. Okay, so we've moved into this area. So we're mimicking what we had down at the bottom. Now, once we've moved up to the A there at the 7th fret, we're going to shift position again, this time with the 1st finger. So we're going to move up to the B at the 9th fret of the D string. That's going to be B, C, D. Okay, so this is going to be 9th, 10th, and 12th frets. 1st, 2nd, and 4th fingers. So this is the same line as we had down here on the A string. B, C, D, B, C, D. Okay, that's how to kind of keep your bearings here. So we're in this middle position here. You know, when I played through those patterns, we're now in this middle area. So we continue. So we've now reached the D. Now we have E, F sharp, and G up on the top. So that's 9th, 11th, and 12th frets with the 1st, 3rd, and 4th fingers. Okay, so. And then just to bring it round in time, we're going to play the F sharp again at the 11th fret, so. And then we're at the G ready to descend. Now, the descent is going to follow a different path. So we're going to come down, G, F sharp, E, so 12th, 11th, and 9th frets. Then we come down, just as we did before, D, C, and B, 4th finger, 2nd finger, and 1st finger, so 12th, 10th, and 9th frets. But now we're on that 1st finger there. For the B, we're going to use that to move down to the A at the 7th fret. Okay, so we've now shifted position down. And it's always good to move positions with either the 1st finger or the 4th finger, so the outer fingers there. So we've come down and we're now on the 4th finger for the G, so that's our root note, remember, G, F sharp, and E. So 10th, 9th, and 7th frets. So that line that we've got here, G, F sharp, and the E, is the same one that we would have had at the top of the pattern there down here. So we've moved into this position. So, and now we're going to make one more position shift back down to our original low position, down to the D with the 4th finger. So we were on the 1st finger for the E there at the 7th fret, and we're shifting to the 4th finger there for the D at the 5th fret, and then C, B, A, G. We just come back down. So that's 4th finger, 2nd finger, 1st finger for the 5th, 3rd, and 2nd frets, and then 5th and 3rd frets down on the E string, 4th and 2nd finger. Okay, so from the bottom. And to finish off, we're going to play the tonic arpeggio of G major 7. So once we've reached the G down there on the bottom, we're going to play the F sharp at the 2nd fret of the E string, the 7th of the scale, just to bring us back round, keeping it in time. And then we're going to come up G, B, D, so that's the major arpeggio there. 3rd fret E string, 2nd and 5th frets on the A string. That's going to be 2nd finger, 1st finger, 4th finger. Then we're going to shift up for the F sharp there at the 4th fret of the D string with the 1st finger, then play the G with the 2nd finger, so that's the 5th fret there, and then we come up again, B and D, 4th fret, 7th fret on the G string, 1st and 4th fingers, and then we make this big position shift with the 1st finger up to the F sharp at the 11th fret, and then we finish up with the 2nd finger for the G at the 12th fret. So that is going to get you some practice at making that big position shift there. And if you have any problems with any of these position shifts, isolate the move. So we've got that 7th fret up to the 11th fret, 4th finger to 1st finger. Just isolate that move. Same with coming down. When we got down to the E there with that 1st finger, and then down to the 4th finger for the D, we just isolate that shift. And it wants to be smooth. You want to keep full note duration through all of this. You don't want staccato notes. You don't want, that kind of thing. It wants to be smooth. Each note for the full duration, or as close to that as you can get, because it is quite hard, when you get there. But the shift has got to be played quickly, even at a very slow tempo. So even quick hand movement, even at a slow tempo. So that's the whole exercise. So a couple of tips on playing this. First things first, play lightly in the fingers. Curl those fingers over and relax the fretting hand. Position shifting like this is much easier when you're relaxed. Secondly, don't rush the line. Don't use a metronome. You don't want the added pressure. Just learn it in your own time, very slowly. Start out slow like this, and even if you're all over the place with the actual rhythm there, don't worry about being metronomically consistent. This isn't a speed exercise and it isn't a rhythmical exercise. It's a melodic exercise working through positions. So we've moved through a couple of positions there, but as a variation, we can add one extra position into the mix. So we could take that E, F sharp and G that we had up on the G string there and shift that to the D string at the 14th, 16th and 17th frets. So when we do that, we're going to have same as before, but when we get to the D at the 12th fret of the D string, we shift up with the 1st finger there to the E. So again, lots of position shifting there. Now, obviously, we also want to learn a line like that in every key. And this is where the really interesting part happens. With a line like this, we can continue playing it through those low, middle, and upper positions, regardless of the key, which makes for a variety of different fingerings and shifts with the same exercise. So let's try a good old C major scale. We'll play the same 2-octave scale followed by a 2-octave arpeggio, but we'll be starting at that 3rd fret of the A string, which limits our vertical movement. We're going to have to do a lot more shifting horizontally. So that line's going to sound like this. So for that line, we start on the C, 3rd fret of the A string, and we come up C, D, E, F, G. So just as we did with the G major. So 3rd and 5th frets on the A string, 2nd, 3rd and 5th frets on the D string. So 2nd finger, 4th finger, 1st, 2nd and 4th finger. Then we make the shift. So we're going to shift with the 1st finger to the A, 7th fret of the D string. We're going to play A, B, C, so 7th, 9th and 10th frets, 1st, 3rd and 4th fingers, and then we're going to shift with the 4th finger up to the D at the 12th fret. So that puts us into this middle position of the C. Okay, so then we continue up, so E, F and G, 9th, 10th and 12th frets there, 1st, 2nd and 4th fingers. Then we make the shift into this higher position, A, B, C. Okay, so same as we would have had down here. So that reaches the root note. So that's going to be 14th, 16th and 17th fret. 1st, 3rd and 4th fingers. So we've reached the apex there, So we have our little turn with the B, so A, B, C, B, and then we can come down from the C, so 17th, 16th, 14th frets, then 17th, 15th, 14th fret. So we're staying in that higher position. So we're in that position, we're staying up there, and when we reach the E, we drop down to the D at the 12th fret of the D string. So that's now shifted position just by one note. And then we come down, C, B, A, so that's a repeat of this top there. So C, B, A, 15th, 14th, and 12th frets. So, and then we're going to make a full position shift down here to G, F, E, so 10th, 8th, and 7th frets there on the A string. And then we're actually going to descend in that middle position. And I'll tell you why in a minute. So we're going to come down, D, C, 10th, 8th fret on the E string. Then we play the B there at the 7th fret of the E string to bring us round, and then we've just got that same arpeggio moving up. Again, you're going to have that big position shift in there, but you know, it's all good practice. That's what we're looking at, the position shifts. So for that whole line, we have. So with this line, I've ascended from the low position and into this high position, but we've then descended down into the middle position. And I've done this intentionally to show how you can hold a position at any point. So if you're playing around in this low position for the C major, we've then got this doorway to move up into this middle position. Move up via this little sort of transition there, and then we've got the position shift here. Then when we come down, we've got this progressive move bringing us down into that middle position. So we could be in the middle position and stay there, or we could have come down, played down to the E, and then made the transition down to the C. And we're back down. So, you know, that's all just examples of how you might use that in, you know, application. But that's not important for this actual exercise. The actual exercise, you want to just play it round and round. Just get used to the actual position shifts, get used to the technique, get used to seeing those moves. Be aware of the positions as you're moving through them, but you don't have to think creatively. At this point, you're just playing the notes and playing them by rote. You know, you're just playing through them, getting that muscle memory. Now, like I said, this is the key to unlocking that fretboard. You want to learn lines that shift through positions. And to this end, it's actually the perfect time to announce that I'm going to be releasing a new book within the next few weeks, featuring a variety of multiple octave etudes just like this one, all working through the different scale positions. The book is called The Cyborg Bassist Volume 1 Scale Mastery for Electric Bass. It's 96 bass etudes for humans and robots. Yes, you might be thinking, what kind of title is that? Do I really want to be a cyborg? You might even be wondering why I'm writing books for robots, but don't worry about that right now. These exercises are written specifically for opening up the fretboard and work through every key. And like I said, we're not just shifting a single pattern to a different fret. Each key provides a completely different set of problems, and you'll be forced into learning the notes of a key, the positions of a key, and you'll get some amazing technique improvements at the same time. The book is going to be released within the next few weeks over at the TalkingBass website, so sign up to the free membership to gain access to all the free downloads, lessons, and forums over there, and you'll also receive information on the upcoming Cyborg Bassist book. Okay, so please like this video if it's helped, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell to be informed of new lessons every Friday. There are over 600 free lessons here on YouTube and also there on the TalkingBass site. So get practicing, and I'll see you next week.